Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. Today is November the 19th, and not only is the hot stove heating up, it is legitimately lit Twitter on fire as of right now.
Yeah, Aaron Nola not going to be a Cardinal. I can't confirm per my sources. The perfect fit that we all thought we had with Aaron Nola is off the board, and it happened before Thanksgiving. So
The reactionary, I'm not even gonna get the reaction for Twitter is absolutely hilarious, by the way. So if you haven't, just take 2 minutes because any more than that will give you a headache. But it is hilarious. It is funny that 2 episodes ago we were all in. Cardinals are signing Yamamoto. Kyle comes on with us, convinces us that Aaron Nola really is the perfect Cardinal that we kind of you and I had talked about before. Oh yeah, that actually does make really good sense. Now we're maybe back. Are we back to Yamamoto? Is that where we're looking? I mean, look, here's the thing, and the one thing I just want to say before we talk about anything else or whatever is, and I think it's so important, and I've seen a lot of people, who are logical, talk about it, is that there is so much more to signing a free agent deal than just the team who gives you more money. And I don't think that people understand that. I think the world of fantasy baseball, the world of MLB the show, the world of fill in the blank has made people believe that people will, whoever insert free agent name, will just take the most money given, when that's not necessarily ever the case.
what's the first word of free agent?
I mean, it does sound like it's free.
The reason Kurt Flood created this was so players had control over their own career. That's the
Correct.
reason it happened. So obviously, if you're a player, like just think about it like yourself. If you wanted to, and whatever you work in, if you don't want to leave a company and they're willing to pay you just maybe a little bit less than an outside company who's trying to bring you in, you're probably staying with that company that you're comfortable with. Like everyone has their own choices. I mean, a lot of it, this has benefited the Cardinals how many times where they get players on quote unquote team friendly deals.
For the last 25 years.
I mean, look at it. Look at the first extension they gave Albert Pujols, where he stayed in the Cardinals through his entire prime.
You can go back to McGuire.
Right. Yeah. You can, I mean, Jim Edmonds literally went once he was in St. Louis, like told his agent to make it work and stay in St. Louis.
Matt
Matt Holliday,
Holiday.
obviously. Yeah. I mean, it happens countless times. So I don't understand why when it's the opposite way, we don't take this into account. Like Nolan Arenado
No.
just opted out of an extra, I don't know, $50 million to stay in St. Louis.
The other take I'd like to get your take on, that is out there that everybody seems to want to jump on now that the sky is falling, Chicken Little, we didn't get Aaron Nola, is that no one wants to come to St. Louis because they're not going to win. And you and I have talked about this probably, I think, off camera, but pay attention, folks. Not every free agent is signing in Atlanta. Not every free agent is signing with the Dodgers. They're not signing with the Astros. Those are your recent champions, right? I mean, so outside of obviously this last year. But you know where they did sign 2 years ago? They went to Texas. Then they followed that up with another strong after Texas had been miserable for years. Look at Arizona. Arizona was in the World Series. They didn't go out and sign a big free agent last year. They didn't do that. So this whole idea that free agents are only going to go where they can win. Did we not see the Mets sign everyone last year and they didn't make the playoffs again? So that's the one thing I don't understand. Can you got anything to think? I just don't understand that take that they're not going to come. The Cardinals guys are 1 year removed from winning the NL Central. Like it's not like this is a bad franchise on the downturn. They had a bad year, which in my mind right now is an anomaly. And until we do it for another year or another year after that, that's all it's going to remain.
It's just dumb. Like that take is just stupid because one, the Cardinals are known as a good organization that's well run and competitive every year. That's what they're known as. Everyone thinks of them that way. And Moselle came out and said that he was happy to see that they were still a destination that players wanted to go to. And on top of that, Derek Gould the other day said that agents are looking at the Cardinals that thinking that they're saying they're going to be aggressive, and if they decide to actually be aggressive, a lot of people are going to want to go play with for them. So that it's all just stupid. It's just like dumb because no one else has said this. Like I've not seen one report that says players don't want to
No.
go to St. Louis. No one
Oh,
said
well,
that.
you think I think the only one that we really honestly have is the Stanton one, right? Like that's literally on record the
Yep.
only guy that I know of. I'm not saying there aren't more, but the idea that it's no one wants to come to, it's hilarious to me because we had a bad year. Like again, Texas went out and signed Corey Seager and Simeon, and yes, they paid. I understand that, but the Rangers were coming off dismal years. Then they go out
Mhm.
and they add Degrom and they add Eval. Like players will go where they feel comfortable, where they feel wanted, and where they get paid. That's what it comes down to. And then obviously wanting a chance to win is always there. But to think that St. Louis does not give all three of those to a player is incredibly short-sighted, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't even understand it. It's just like people are coping ahead of time for us not getting anyone. Like that's
Um,
what it feels like, and I don't
Back to
understand it.
Nola. I know you're going to feel the same way. I'm pumped for him. He obviously was incredibly happy in Philadelphia. I mean, my God, he got paid 7 years, was 160, 150 million?
172.
170. Okay, 170 million. That's almost 25 a year, if my math is correct. That's kind of where we kind of thought he was going to land. I don't know what Aaron Nola's family situation is like. I don't know if they love it in Philly. I don't know if he lives there full time. I honestly have no idea there, so I'm not even going to speculate on that. But it sure felt like when you're in a clubhouse with a group of guys that you're comfortable with, they're going to pay you market value and you have a shot to win. I don't think that it was the Cardinals didn't do something. I think it was just that Aaron Nola ended up staying where he wanted. And this whole, like, you're going to have to outspend. I mean, if Mo would have gone on and given him 7 years, 200 million, people would have lost their absolute minds for giving Aaron Nola 30 million for 7 years. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like Mo even said today that the agent told him that this was happening, which means they were in on him. Like it means they were
Correct.
in on him trying to
Correct.
get him.
Yeah.
So for me, like I am happy for Aaron Nola, good for him. But if you're the Cardinals, like, and you're gonna spend up closer to 200 million, if that's what it would have taken to get him away from Philly, go after the 25-year-old.
Agreed.
Like go after the 25-year-old sensation who's probably going to be better than Nola. Probably.
Yeah. Well, we don't know that. I mean, I'm not going to, like, again, that's more speculation, but I'm in full agreement with the 25-year-old. If we're going to, like I wanted Aaron Nola, but you and I had talked, I think on here, but also obviously off air, but 7 years is a long time for a 31-year-old pitcher. It just is. We were not against it. I was just saying that was a risk. That was always going to be a risk when you were looking at that. However, like I said, I'm pumped for him. He obviously wanted to be there. He didn't need to leave. Like, I'm happy that, like, and good on the Phillies for keeping him, for not just letting him go and saying, we'll try to replace you. Keeping he and Wheeler and Suarez and those guys there. I think I mean, the Phillies they're built to last right now. So, that window is still very wide open, I believe.
Well,
And I
really,
know they're in. Do what?
I said really, I think they're built to suck in like 4 years, but they're
Potentially. I'm talking about the
yeah,
short
the
term.
next couple of years they're
Yeah.
gonna be really good, but
Yep.
they're setting themselves up to where if they don't win soon, it's gonna be a disaster.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on. All right, let's move on because Aaron Nola is now out of
Before we
our.
move on, there was
Yeah,
something else I
okay,
wanted to
sure.
ask you. Do you think he just set the market? We always say first guy that signs sets the market. Aaron Nola just signed 7 years under 25 a year. Because my math's right, 25 a year would be 175, right?
Correct. Correct.
So he's
It's like
upwards of
24 and a
24.
half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. He's upwards of 24 million a year, which is right. I mean, I thought he was gonna get closer to 30 a year. So if
Yeah.
that sets the market, like Yamamoto's gonna get more. We all knew this, but I don't know if he's gonna get way more. So I don't know if he's gonna get 7 years for 32 AAV. It might be 7 for 30, which is still that's $40 million more than Aaron Nola just signed for. So he could have just set the market in the Cardinals' favor.
Agreed. And I think in a lot of teams' favor. I almost wonder what the union thinks. Like they probably wanted him to get more and go out on that open market. But what it tells you is he didn't want to go out too far on the open market. He probably had, again, speculating. I hate to do that, but he probably had a small list of teams that he was interested in, maybe potentially going to.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the Cardinals were one of those. Sounds like maybe the Braves were one of those. We don't know. I mean, until that comes out. But it sounds like Phillies was number one. And then if somebody blew him out of the water, potentially, but I don't even know if that would have mattered. I don't even know if a team blows him out of the water, he may still have gone back to Philly. Like those are things we'll never know, nor do we need to know. But yeah, I think you're right. I think setting the market that number is probably pretty good for the Cardinals and not really great for maybe some of the other free agent pitchers who are looking at. I mean, you could argue that outside of Yamamoto, because of his age, Aaron Nola was tier number one along with Blake Snell, right? I mean, that's
and he's better. He's way better, and he's way better than Blake Snell, in my opinion.
Agreed. So yeah, I
the
think
thing that's interesting to me about this is I think saying the market's almost a fictitious thing because here's the thing: if Nola's gone off the market now, I don't think when teams are bidding for Yamamoto, they're going to say, "Well, we can't go above what Nola got to get him."
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So I don't even know if that's a real thing. I really don't because if Yamamoto and if the Mets are really in on Yamamoto, they're not going to stop just because Aaron Nola signed for 170. Like that's not going to happen.
Can we talk about Yamamoto realistically here a little bit? 2 podcasts ago, I said I still think there's a really good shot the Cardinals sign him just because of that international mark. Like it's something most talked about, and I think Kyle talked about it on here about how they're wanting to really be more aggressive in that international mark. Maybe Kyle talked about it, or maybe I read him say something somewhere in the lines like that happened. I think that's a really good thing for them. But let's talk about that a little bit. And I've said I think honestly it's probably down to St. Louis and Boston, and I'll stick by that. To me, I mean, obviously you can address this, but his agent doesn't love New York. The Yankees to me make no sense because they have no offense. I mean, if they're and they have pitching, like they got Rodon, they've got Cole, they've got Frankie Montas potentially coming back.
No,
They
they don't.
got is he not back? Is he out for
He's a
another
free
year?
agent.
Oh, okay. So my apologies. I did not realize that.
They
So,
do have Nestor
but
Cortez
they
and
correct.
some people. Clark Schmidt.
Severino, is he a free agent also? Yeah, okay. But they got I just don't see them spending all a lot of those resources on another arm. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. And I just feel like the Mets are an absolute fucking dumpster fire. That just to me doesn't make sense. The Red Sox, we don't know what they're going to spend. And you said this to me, I think yesterday. We haven't heard Henry talk about that. Like John Henry, we don't know what he's going to spend. But the Cardinals, it just seems like it's one of those two. And all along, I thought he'd go to one of the coasts just because to me that's really good for baseball to have the international guys on the coast where you can really, bring in MLB like that love into the game. But St. Louis, I mean, while not on a coast, not a bad place to be. I mean, you're talking about one of the top two winning franchises in baseball of all time, and the relationship as he's out there playing golf with Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting factors that work, and they're kind of coming together to work in the Cardinals' favor for this one guy. Like, for example, Joe Wolf. Cardinals have a great relationship with Joe Wolf. He's Yamamoto. I mean, he's Arenado's agent. He's Nootbaar's agent. He's Helsley's agent now. And he tried to get Stanton to want to come to St. Louis because he's Stanton's agent as well. So that's working in their favor. Then they've got the fact that the last 12 months, they've really put a lot of work into the international market with Slater and the scout they just hired over there that all have really good relationships with orcs. Apparently, Slater is the only guy that has two rings for like Japan, the NPB, and for the World Series, one with the Cardinals and one with Oryx. So the team Yamamoto is coming from. And for me, I don't know what your take on this would be, but if you're Bill DeWitt and you're spending all this money on scouts going over there, on all the money that it costs to have a presence over there in Asia, it's not an easy thing to accomplish, and you've accomplished that. At some point, I'm going to think you want your investment to pay off in a player. And what's a better time than for that to pay off with the best pitcher to maybe ever come over from Japan?
Agreed. I agree. And it just the stars seem aligned. But I go back to what we talked about with Aaron Nola. It really is the ball is legitimately in Yamamoto's court. Like that's going to be. There's obviously money involved. There's posting fee involved. Did you say he posts tomorrow? Is that what we heard?
What I read was that they're gonna officially post on tomorrow. But I don't. But someone said they can't start negotiating until Tuesday. But it's in the next 2 days they can start receiving offers.
It does just excuse me. It does just seem like that the stars are aligned. That if Mo does want to spend, and I understand, I trust me, guys.
Not Mo.
I understand what DeWitt. I understand the pessimism. That's great. Thank you for correcting me on that. The pessimism. I understand it. We've been pessimistic about things we've done for years with not going after and reestablishing the market. However, it does sound like this is like potentially his time. Do you know what I mean? Potentially that this could be it. This could be his swan song right here for Mo and DeWitt.
It seems like it's just so perfect. They're never gonna be they might never get this opportunity again to have the Nootbaar connection with Yamamoto and everything else working in your favor to get this star to come to your team. Because there's gonna be other players that come over here that really want to go to New York, that like Kodai Senga did, that really want to go to LA, like Shohei Ohtani did. There's been no indication that Yamamoto is that same way. A lot of people are assuming that, which to me is weird to just assume that all Japanese players are the same. Like, let's not do that. They're different. Like, Yu Darvish went to Texas. He did not go to a coast. People, they're all different. They're all different people. But it's just all working in their favor to at least get their foot in the door to where if they give a competitive offer, he might accept it because of Nootbaar, because Joe Wolf's going to probably tell him, who, by the way, Joe Wolf played for the Cardinals. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Who's probably going
Look at
to
that.
be
That's
able
good
to,
journalism.
Thanks. These people are probably going to be able to at least entice him to take your offer if you're in the ballpark of everybody else. Now, none of this matters at all if they're not in the ballpark of everybody else. If they're $20 million less, but they say, oh, we have a Nootbaar here. No. And here's the interesting thing to me as well. Like, now that Nola's off the board, in my mind, their top two targets, like if they could pick, I've thought it's Nola and Yamamoto the whole time. Those are their top two guys they probably want to go after. One of them's gone. Don't mess around. When he's posted, if you want him, Say make him turn down 7 years, 210 first day
I
one.
agree. I
Make him
agree.
turn down.
I agree.
Say this. Hey, we have this offer for you. You need to accept it quickly, or we need to move on. 7 years, 210, and you
I
can
agree.
counter if you want.
Yep, I agree 100% with you. By the way, to everybody out there in YouTube land, Apple, Spotify, wherever you are listening, thank you so much for listening. We greatly appreciate you. As you can tell, the mighty backdrops of Caleb have changed. He's back here in the 504, so we got the my old situation there. So yeah, back here. Also, new glasses. I got new glasses. I can finally see you through the screen, but instead of doing this like every 2 minutes, I finally can see. But for those of you listening, if you could hit that subscribe button, we're incredibly close to 500. We'd love to get there, and then obviously 1,000 is the key. But thank you so much. But if you could hit that subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate that. Let's move on from Yamamoto.
Before we do that,
Okay.
But I know, but I think this is like the biggest conversation happening right now with Yamamoto. So I didn't want to move on yet. No, sorry
No,
about
that's
that.
fine.
But with Nola signing, I think this another thing that bodes well for the Cardinals. I think they were probably split between Nola and Yamamoto. Like there have been reports that in the front office there was like half that wanted Nola, half that wanted Yamamoto. The fact that Nola signs the day before Yamamoto's posted, and now you don't even have to worry about him being a fallback option, like that to me raises the likelihood by like at least 15% of them being able to get him. Because I don't think they're gonna mess around.
What I also think raises the percentage is there's no draft pick tied. It's only money. And that's easy for me to say, right? But I'm also not a billionaire. So for the first time since the Tony years, the Cardinals are going to have a top 10 draft pick, right? I mean, they're going to potentially have with the lottery, who knows where they're going to end up.
They could get the number one.
But that's not just in the first round. That's then for every other round.
No. So the way it works is the lottery's for the first round. And if they were to get the number one overall pick in the first round, then when it goes to the second round, they slot back to their
I understand, but it's still top 10. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm just clarifying that they're guaranteed
Okay,
the fifth
thank you
or
for that.
sixth overall pick in the second round.
Yeah, my point was it's still an incredibly high pick for every round.
Yeah, I don't know that they're
willing on a team that's really working to develop. I don't know that they're willing to give up a pick like that for a guy like Blake Snell or somebody like that. To me, I'm going to tell you what I think the stars are aligning for. It's Yamamoto and Montgomery. Those are two guys that you don't have to give a pick up for. That the familiarity. Now, again, Jordan Montgomery might want to go back to New York. Jordan Montgomery might want to go back to Texas. Jordan Montgomery might want to go somewhere else. It just feels like could you imagine that's a lot of innings you're adding to your staff, right? I mean, for the number that they were looking at, and you're not giving up a draft pick, you now have that great first round draft pick, potentially incredibly high, but then you're set up to really go out and get some guys to bring in who, whether they're college guys or whatever. I mean, I think that kind of tends to be their focus right now. It seems to be that they can bring in to develop. And the next thing you know, that pipeline to the MLB could be a lot quicker for some of these guys.
The interesting part about this Nola signing is I think it's obvious that Cardinals, if you were to look at who the Cardinals have been connected to the most, who they apparently want the most, it seems like now it's Yamamoto and Gray.
Which I'd be fine with, by the way.
Yeah, but I also think are the Cardinals really excited about the idea of giving up a draft pick for Sonny Gray? Right. I don't know the answer to that, but I would assume not really. So that's another reason why you go harder for him. For me, you know where I really think they might go? I think Lucas Giolito makes a lot of sense. And he's been a guy.
Oh, you're back on.
I've been off of it for a long time.
I know.
And I looked at more of the numbers. He had the second highest strikeout rate among any free agent behind Blake Snell.
You just made Mike Godard's day. Shout out, Mike, by the way. Yeah. You just made his day because this is what he has been saying for 3 months, I believe.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get 15-ish a year, maybe up to 17. We'll see where the market goes. But he's not getting 20. I would be surprised if he got 20 a year. And if you go get Yamamoto, and he's, let's just say $30 million. If you go get, Giolito on top of that, then you still have 15-ish to play with, because we'll talk about why they save more money in a second here. But to me, that would be like, you're signing two guys with a lot of upside there. You've got Michaelis, who's a stabilizing presence. You've got Matz, who is kind of a wild card, if we're all being honest here. And then I think that's when you look at, you have $50 million left, you can go get a flyer on, Luis Severino or whoever that guy is for you. Like, they have options now.
Or Zach Thompson.
No, they need to get a guy to compete with him. Zach Thompson, in my opinion, Thompson should be competing for the fifth spot, not giving it.
It's interesting you talk about Matz. And we don't have to get too deep into the weeds about this, but last year I was wrong. but I thought he was going to have that bounce back year last year. I could have been a year two. It could, I mean, he could be a guy that you get the one every other or every third year of Steven Matz. It could be this year. Like I mean, that is something that I don't feel like a lot of people are
Yeah.
talking about. It's because the 2 years we've had of Steven Matz not been very
And
good.
a lot
Seen
of that I also
flashes.
think I think is because the Cardinals can't bank on that.
I
That'd be
agree.
malpractice in my opinion.
That's not where I was going with that. I'm not saying bank on it. I'm saying though he could be one of those guys who does step up out of. I mean, that's what you signed him for
Yeah.
2 years ago. That could be a guy all of a sudden Steven Matz is rolling. Now, now you're looking at not just a good rotation, but an incredibly solid rotation. Though, can I tell you that my biggest concern?
Yeah.
You okay there? What are you doing?
Sorry, I realized I didn't have a kicker in my fantasy football league. I had to put him in.
My biggest concern is they miss out on Yamamoto.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do something like the Cardinals have done in the past with the knee-jerk reactions, and all of a sudden we're trading one of our top young players for a pitcher. That's my biggest concern. I'm going to be honest with you. That's my
Yeah,
biggest
if I'm going to
concern.
be honest with you, that though, that's what you're going to have to do if you don't get Yamamoto. That's another reason to go harder for him. You can't don't miss out
Agreed.
on him. Because here's the thing, I don't want to trade any of them, but I also don't want to get in a spot where we miss out on Yamamoto too, and then it's Blake Snell. And I don't really want to give Blake Snell whatever he's going to get because I don't think he's going to be worth it. Like I am so anti-signing Blake Snell. I hope he gets all the money in the world, and I hope he's happy wherever he goes. That's not St. Louis because he is like I could not think of a worse fit for what the Cardinals need right now than a
I
guy
don't know
who,
that, but
dude, he walks everybody. What
he
happens
does.
when you're 34 and you're walking everybody?
Yeah.
When you're not 31 throwing 98, what happens? They all score. And I don't want to be dealing with that. So Blake Snell makes a lot of sense for a team that has like even like the Phillies. Like if you have guys that are workhorses like Wheeler and you have Nola to get a guy in there that's not going to throw 200 innings, but is going to give you some electric stuff for 5. He makes a lot of sense for a team that already has those guys. The Cardinals need the first guys. They need the Wheeler and the Nola. That's what they need. They don't need the complementary piece to those two, which is what I think
Yep.
Snell kind of is. Snell's the only 2-time Cy Young Award winner that in my lifetime that I don't consider an ace or anywhere close to it, to be quite honest. Because he
I
has
don't
years
agree
where
with
he's
you.
just not
I
good.
get it. I get it. I don't necessarily agree with you. If the Cardinals went out and signed Blake Snell, I would not be mad. That's what I'll say.
I
I'm
want
not
to be
saying
mad, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, especially with our outfield defense the way that it is right now. Like that's not a good. You
that's a
cannot
very
put that many people on base. You just can't.
Yep. Good point. Good point. Anything else you want to go through the free agent market? Because obviously, you know what's going to happen. Like tomorrow, something big is going to happen, and then we're going to have to be right back where we are right now.
Well, I hope something big happens soon for the Cardinals.
Although, hopefully, no, hopefully it's not tomorrow. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Tuesday. There we go. There we go.
Do you? No. Okay. Let's get into the non-tenders because that conversation is going to bleed more
Hold on.
into money to spend.
What if the Cardinals sign somebody tomorrow night at 9:00 while we're watching Killers of the Flower Moon?
Sign who?
I don't know, but that would be terrible. That'd be
Sonny
like the worst
Gray?
timing of all time.
Yeah,
That'd
but
be
I'd be watching
awful.
a Martin Scorsese movie, so I'd be content.
So you'd be okay. Your phone would be put
Yeah, I'd be
away.
okay
You
with
wouldn't
it.
even know. You wouldn't even know what was happening
No.
until you got out of there.
If you
All
get your
right.
phone out, if you bring your phone out in a movie theater with Martin Scorsese movie on, you should never go back to the movies. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Agreed. 100%. We'll be with a good crowd tomorrow night. Britannia Theater. Great theater. We'll be with a good crowd. Plus it's 8:00 and it's a 3.5 hour movie. Not a lot of people going to be there, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's move on to the non-tenders because obviously coming into today, that was the biggest news of Cardinal baseball until obviously the Aaron Nola stuff hit, and then moving into the Yamamoto stuff potentially. You kind of called it who you thought they would non-tender outside of Andrew Kisner. I think that was a surprise to everyone. Outside of that, anybody else on that list surprise you? What are your thoughts? Saving almost $8 million by non-tendering those guys? Is that what I read?
3.5. Yeah, around 7. Around 7.
Yeah, 7 point something it said.
They all surprised me because I didn't think the Cardinals were going to do it. Like, I thought they needed to do it, but I didn't think they were going to do it. And I think it says a lot about where they're at right now of, hey, we need to change something. Like this didn't work. 91 losses. We need to get guys out of here. Now, the guy that surprised me the most was Juan Yepez. That seems like a mutual parting to me.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there weren't enough opportunities and they couldn't trade him. No one wanted him really because he wasn't very good at AAA last year. So they just said, okay, just go. You're a free agent. Go figure it out. because to me, like there are so many guys on that roster that they would have chosen Yepez over. Like I think they would have chosen Yepez over Gomez. Like if they had to come down to it. So it feels like that was mutual, which whatever. I hope Juan goes and takes control of his own
Me
career
too. Me
because
too.
he deserves a good look. He's a good hitter. Andrew Kisner was shocking to me. I did not see that coming because I thought at least they'd be able to trade him, but I guess they wouldn't. And also I want to address that as well. I saw a lot of people saying they could have traded these guys. No, or they would have. Like, no, they wouldn't have.
Boom. Thank
Like,
you.
that's not true because they waited until the deadline. Like, we didn't get an announcement until after the deadline had passed of who was not tendered. That means they were working up until the deadline to
Correct.
figure out if they could move any of these guys.
Correct. Which
Because
everyone was reporting, by the way.
yeah, and the Cardinals also like they're an organization that likes to treat their players well. It's a much better situation for any of those players if they're traded than if they're cut. Much better.
Mhm.
So that is what that is. I'm not upset that they didn't trade any of them. I think they tried, they couldn't, which kind of tells you about the value of the players that you got rid of if you couldn't trade them, in my opinion. The
Agreed.
Dakota Hudson news is huge to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think? Okay, this is going to be my ignorance. All right, so I'll preface it with that. If
Okay.
we were to trade Dakota Hudson, all right before the non-tender deadline, does the team who trades for him, are they on the hook for then that $4 million of his contract? Because to me, that's why nobody traded for Dakota Hudson. Am
That's
I right?
why.
I mean, okay, all right. So that I assumed that was obviously how it went, but I just wanted to make
Mhm.
sure that the non-tender wasn't different from anything different like that, because that's exactly why no one. I mean, why would you give up an asset, no matter who it is, for a guy that you could then go out and
It would have
sign?
been cash. It would have been cash.
Would have had to have been, right? That's the only thing that would have made
Yeah.
sense. Okay. The Kisner thing makes the Pajes thing like make sense. Like that
Yeah.
now I mean, not that Kyle came on here and we talked about the insurance. I think that's what Kyle, how he explained it, was kind of like an insurance for them. I'm also think it's interesting to listen to things he said when he was on here with us about how I think they still have some work to do on that 40-man roster. There's still a lot of dead spots on that 40-man roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, but there's no need to get upset about it now. Like, let's wait until we get to. They're obviously going to bring in guys on minor league contracts. They're going to bring in guys at spring training on
And they're going to
potential
sign
major league
people.
contracts. Correct. So the people were getting all up in arms. Let's wait, but I think Kyle made some really good points. But that Pahe thing now makes a lot more sense. So now you have 3 catchers on the 40-man roster, which is what they've always tended to do.
Yeah. And also to me, these moves don't happen if they're not intending on spending nearly every single dollar that they have allotted to them in their budget, which
Agreed.
is reported around 200 million. It could be over, it could be slightly under.
Yeah.
It could be 195, it could be 210. I don't know. But whatever it is, you don't get rid of Dakota Hudson unless you need that $4 million, to be quite honest. Like you just don't. You don't get rid of Andrew Kisner unless you need the $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're setting up to be like we have a budget where we need to get up to this budget, exactly up to the budget, if we want to improve our team the way we want to do it, which means they're going to have to spend all of it. But right now, they're sitting at 60-ish million to spend reportedly,
Yes.
maybe even more than that, 63, it's something like that, before Tyler O'Neill, who I think we all assume probably not going to be here next year. So knock another 5 off. So they're going to be sitting at 135. Like they're going to have a lot of money to spend.
Also, shout out to Ivan Herrera. Like that, unless there's something out there in the weeds that we don't know about. Sounds to me like they're going to say this is our guy. Like this is our.
That's what Mo said today.
Okay, good. I didn't get to listen to it. I know you had listened to it. So good. That's awesome. I'm incredibly excited for him. I'm incredibly excited to get to see him get maybe 200 at bats. I don't know what that number looks like, but I'm incredibly excited. I mean, he's 23. Like the future with him, that's awesome for him to finally commit. They must have really liked what they see. Because here's the thing: Kisner got shit on so badly, and like Kyle said last time, catching is so completely unwarranted. Catching is so difficult, and being a backup catcher even harder than being a big league catcher. He will catch on with somebody, and they will be incredibly happy to have him as their backup catcher. That's what I will say. I was a Kids fan. He hit everywhere he was at in the minor leagues. When you don't get regular playing time, it's very tough to become an elite, let alone productive hitter at the major league level. He's going to sign on somewhere. Dakota Hudson's going to sign on somewhere. But I'm pumped to see Ivan Herrera here.
Hold on, we got news.
Oh, got breaking news?
Not good news. Not good news. Per Derek Gould, Cardinals never got to the point of making an offer to Aaron Nola or meeting with the pitcher. They were not a team that actively engaged in trying to lure him away from returning to the Phillies.
Well, okay, so that could be we can take that one of 3 ways. And I'll let you tell me what you want to take it as after I fill that in. 1, they're going all in on Yamamoto, and Nola was that like there was one guy on their target. It was like, now let's hope it's not the David Price thing all over again, where when you miss the only guy on there, then you have to react. Like, so let's hope that's not the thing. That's one. Two, there have been discussions within an agency somewhere where essentially Aaron Nola's agent said he's going back to Philly. So that's the other reason. Or three, we're screwed.
Yeah. So also, I'm not gonna edit this and edit out all the shit we said earlier because I don't want to go back and do that. So if you're at this point
there's
right
no need
now,
to,
if
because
you're at
it's
this point right
changed.
now, hold on. If you're at
Right.
this point right now and you're saying all that stuff you said earlier wasn't true, sorry. At least you stayed. If you got out because you were mad at us, sorry. But yeah. So my take on that is one, they either didn't want to be used for leverage, which they don't. They've said this multiple times that they don't like being used for leverage. They don't want to be a team that's in there bidding, thinking they're going to get him when ultimately they're just using him to make the Phillies pay more money, right? Like they don't like being that team, which I don't blame them. It's stupid. Like it's a waste of time for you. Your job is not to get players paid. It's not the team's job. But my other reaction to that is, uh-oh, like honestly, like uh-oh, because I don't. It's not if the Cardinals are banking that much on Yamamoto signing with them. Maybe that means they know he's interested. I don't know. But if that's the way that we can view this, with they're just going all in on Yamamoto, I think that's stupid to just go all in on one player because if you don't get him, you're screwed. But or it means that they're not at the top of the market. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that to be the case. I think they might have gotten an indication early that Aaron Nola wasn't coming to St. Louis. That would be my
that's
read.
where I would lean.
And if that's the case, then they don't want to waste their time.
Right.
And I don't blame them. Like they have other more important things to do than to help a player get paid more money.
Agreed. 100%. So those of you who stayed with us after we said what we said for the first 20 minutes, thank you. We appreciate you. I go back to, though, we didn't say anything wrong. Like, we were reacting to the news of the moment. That's what you have to do. Prisoner of the moment is the phrase for a reason. One thing I want to tell you also, Connor Thomas back with the Cardinals. So obviously they cut him, DFA'd him, and then signed him back. So good awesome for Connor and good for the Cardinals.
I wonder if I was thinking about that the other day. I wonder if a lot of times they cut guys like Packy and Connor because those are the two guys they cut and they're back. And they have a conversation before like, hey, if you guys are healthy and doing good things, we'll put you back on and you'll make a date and you'll come back with us. Like, I wonder if those are conversations they have.
I think it's naive to believe that those do not exist. So I would say yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I've not been in that situation, but would say I think it's naive to believe that those do not happen.
Yeah, I think that's what they tried to do with Freddie Pacheco last year when they DFA'd him while he was injured, and they were hoping he was going to come back, and then he didn't clear waivers and went to Detroit, who, by the way, just cut him again. Like he's out there again. The Cardinals want him back. Yeah. So I do think those conversations happen. The only wrench that can really be thrown into it is a team scooping him up, which doesn't happen all that often.
Right, but it's almost like a safety net for the player too. Hey, if no one scoops you up, we'd like to bring you back. So then the player, then you're giving that player like insurance. Like that's I think that's a good thing too.
Especially with Packy, because
if
Packy's healthy, like he'll probably be back in the major leagues sometime next year if he's healthy. So
one thing we haven't talked a lot about on here is Craig Counsell going to the Cubs. I think there's been a lot of freak out from Cardinal fans to like. I think the Cubs are going to spend money. We've talked about that. That's a market that has a lot of money. They can spend a lot of money. I think they will spend a lot of money. Craig Counsell staying in the division was kind of hoping he would leave. He is such a very good manager. But here's the thing: like, to be fair, the Milwaukee Brewers have not won anything. They haven't even made it to the World Series. I'm not blaming Craig Counsell for that. Please understand that. I'm not doing that. But it's not like that's a guy who has 3 rings that's staying in the division. Yeah. I think it's fine. I think it's much ado about nothing. I'm happy for Craig that he's getting paid what he probably deserves. That's good. I'm happy that he's with a team who's going to spend money. He deserves that. Like, managers deserve that. But I don't think that Craig Counsell going to the Cubs, maybe I'm wrong, but it's a massive game changer for the Chicago Cubs and the NL Central.
The only thing it is it signifies that they're going all in because they paid him $40 million.
Agreed.
Like, you don't do that if you're not going to build a good team around him. But I think the Cubs going out there and being aggressive and spending money is great for the Cardinals because they've always been the team. They've always been the team that says, let's try and win the NL Central. Well, if the other teams in the NL Central are getting to the point of being close to as good as the teams in the NL East, if that happens and the Cubs are, a 95-win team in the next 2 years, whatever, the Cardinals are going to have to try to win an NL Central, but also be a 95 to 100-win team in the same process. That's a good thing. If the Cubs, I honestly think one of the best things that could happen for the Cardinals is today, after Nola goes away, is for Shohei Ohtani to sign with the Cubs today. I think that would be one of the best things for the Cardinals because then they'd be like, uh-oh. And then you'd have to go all in on Yamamoto because
that's a really good point. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But
I would love it. I'd get to see him more often. Like
Yeah, that's true.
I think he'd hit 15
Well, we
home
were
runs off
supposed to
Miles
see
Michaels
him in
this season.
Houston.
I was sick, but I would love. I think the rivalry would be great if Yamamoto was a Cardinal and Otani was a Cub.
Oh,
I
that
think
would
that'd be the
be.
best the rivalry's
Oh
been in
my
my
God, could you
lifetime.
imagine that rivalry again? That'd be awesome. That would. I love that. By the way, that's good. What did you just come up with that on your own, or you been thinking about this
No,
like
I've been thinking
while
about
you're
it for like
drinking
three
your high
weeks.
noons?
I've been thinking about it for like 3 weeks.
This man and I drank Fallbergs last night that had to have been sitting in a cooler for since they changed their
It's
name
like
from Dixie.
rust.
Literally, I thought my mouth was bleeding at one
I
point, and
said
I was
that
like,
I said that too.
I was like, okay, I have to. But the deal was so good that we could not turn them down. When you're getting a dollar beer, you just drink dollar beers at the dive bar. So that's what we did. But I had to move on to the much higher upscale beer of Miller High Life from there. So we were good after that. Boy. And then we had chorizo tacos. Boy, and now we're going to a Po' Boy Fest. Our stomachs might explode tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. But when
Okay.
in Rome, I guess.
So my choice for Kyle's poll might change in about 6 hours.
Well,
Oh,
so
two things I want to ask you about, and then we can do whatever you want to talk about. What's your interest level if you're the Cardinals on Brandon Woodruff?
high, very high, as high as it can be. I would
Okay,
give him the Tyler Glasnow deal of last year, which is 2 years, $30 million. I'm giving you 5 in year 1 to maybe pitch 100 inning. I mean, maybe pitch 40 innings if you're healthy by the end of the year. But I'm giving you 25 for 2024. I mean 2025. Sorry. If he's willing to sign that, I'm doing it. Like I just am, and I'm committing that money for next year, and we'll figure out all the money stuff later. But that's a number one. Like Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns steals the show in
agreed.
Milwaukee because of how great he is. Because Corbin Burns is a top 3 pitcher on the planet probably. But Brandon Woodruff, if Corbin Burns wasn't there, Brandon Woodruff would be viewed in the same light. I think because he's that good when he's on
I
the field.
agree. I think that, and I like the way that you like that would be a great structure of a contract,
Yeah, I
and
think
maybe
so
even
too.
an option, a team option for our club, our mutual option for year 3. Like that's not a bad way to go
That's
either.
also Dad. Like a lot of things there. The 2.5 pitchers that Mo's been talking about is it's kind of like two pitchers are going to be there that are really good, and then the half pitcher is a flyer, like a
Hmm.
flyer that you compare with Zach Thompson, whatever. Like Brandon Woodruff could be that half pitcher where it's like we get him in, and if he's back in August, like for the playoff run, that's crazy. But if he's not, we like Zach Thompson.
Right.
So that's
Or
a
you've
guy
made
that
a
you
trade
can
at the
do that with.
deadline, or you've made a trade at the deadline.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or you acquire him and you go get another like Luis Severino. I don't know, but I would be interested.
The other guy we didn't talk about when we talked about the non-tenders and the DFAs was Wilking Rodriguez. Were you a little surprised that they DFA'd Wilking Rodriguez, or were you not? Do you think that just the health issues was the greatest thing there, or what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, he's 34. You took a chance on him last year and he didn't throw an inning for you. Like, you know, I don't know the upside there. I don't know when he's going to be 35 and still having done, no offense to him, but really nothing in the big leagues. Like the odds of him being a great reliever for you are just going down by the year. And like, I think they took a flyer on him. It didn't pan out and they just decided to move on, which I'm okay
Okay,
with. Like, do more of
same,
that, Cardinals. Take
same.
flyers on guys. And if it doesn't work, move on quicker. Like take a flyer on another reliever, and if he's great, great. If he's bad, move on. Drew Verhagen, like if he was bad, you should have moved on earlier. Like be willing to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Is Verhagen back for another year, or is he?
No,
Is
he's a
he
free agent.
okay? I couldn't remember if there was a 2 or a 3 year deal. I was really hoping that you were going to say no there. Um, okay, one guy we talked a little bit about it with Kyle but not a lot. What's your interest level on a guy like Marcus Stroman?
High, very high.
Okay,
Um, and it's not big, and I get the aspect of he's shared some tweets that are in very poor taste. I'm not going to get into it, but similar to the Kyrie Irving situation, just in some aspects. And I get that. And if you're of the idea that you don't want him because of that, fair, I understand. And I'm not even saying that we should want him, but I'm saying if you're a pitcher that's good, my interest in you is pretty high for the
okay.
Cardinals. Like and see what that's all about. Like go talk to him and bring that up. Bring up the tweets he shared, bring up all of it and say, what was this about? And find out for yourself if you're comfortable moving forward. But I think they should have a conversation with him.
Do you put Trevor Bauer in that same
No.
ilk? Okay, I just want you to clarify that statement because people were going to probably say, "Well, I'm just letting you know how
Yeah,
the
to me,
human
Trevor
brain and
Bauer is
Twitter
just in such
works."
a different that's like Marcus Stroman is still like his name's not ruined in baseball. Like he's not
Agreed.
when you see Marcus Stroman highlights, you don't see thousands of tweets about how horrible of a human he is. When you look at Trevor Bauer, like that to me is just bad business. Like bad business also on a flyer. Like Trevor Bauer's not young. He's not guaranteed he's gonna come back and be the pitcher he was when he was using sticky stuff, which by the way he was. Like, so there's a lot of questions just on the field with him, and that doesn't even match the off the field look it would give your team. So I'm not even considering
Okay,
it.
good. I figured give you a shot to clarify that because I knew where that was going to go next. Like I just knew
Yeah,
where that was
they're
going to
very
go.
different situations to me.
Agreed.
But
Anything else that we need to hit on here? Because I mean,
I
it's
don't think
funny
we
how
spent
we
enough
started.
time on Dakota Hudson,
Okay, then let's do that.
the
Go.
non-tender,
That's
because
your
I think
guy.
I've said this. He's a very nice guy. I've met him a few times. Very
I'm
nice
sure,
guy. But
guaranteed.
to
Mississippi
me,
State, right, or Texas A&M, one of the two.
I don't know. I don't care. Sorry, Jack. But
There it is. That's your guy.
for me, Dakota Hudson represented everything. I've said this multiple times. Everything the Cardinals needed to get the hell away from. They need to get away from lucky pitchers that walk guys, that don't have any strikeout punch, that have very limited amount of talent, if we're being honest. Like Dakota Hudson has a nasty sinker, but he can't locate it, and he doesn't know, and he doesn't throw it as hard as he used to. For me, and the conversation I had with someone on Twitter was the amount of innings they would have thrown him to get $4 million of value. If they threw him that amount of innings, that means you failed the offseason anyway. So get rid of him because you don't want to get $4 million worth of value out of him. So I feel like that and Woodford was surprising to me way more than Hudson, because I didn't think Woodford was an option to get non-tender just because he was only making $1 million. But they're fully moving away from that style of pitching, it looks like, and thank God.
Which, by the way, is why Cal Control makes no sense.
And why they weren't even interested, I bet.
Correct. So let's just go ahead and get that out there. Mississippi State, by the way, I was correct. I just wanted to get that out there. I thought that's where it was. Give me your interest level on Lance Lynn.
0%, maybe negative.
What about Michael Wacha?
0%.
Thank you. I just want to get those out. I was really hoping.
The only reason I say that is because I think Michael Wacha is going to be too expensive for what he's going to bring you.
Yeah, I just think it's time to move on. I just wish that's the thing that for me that drives me sometimes crazy about a certain group of Cardinal fans is if they played for us, we want to reunite them all the time, even though we never won anything with Lance Lynn or Michael Wacha.
We also really all wanted Michael Wacha gone before he left.
Right. And that's no shot at either of them. I love both. You know, I was the Lance Lynn guy when everyone else was not the Lance Lynn guy. I've been a Lance Lynn guy my entire life since he's been in the major leagues. Like, I love that man. It's just time to move on. I think what Michael Wacha did last year was incredible for San Diego. He's only going to give you 100 to 120 innings. That's what he does. He's probably going to get hurt. He's probably going to go 5 innings. Every once in a while, he's going to go 6 because he did have 12 quality starts. But it's like when he doesn't go 6, the drain on your bullpen can be. Kyle was right. He hit it last week. Not a lot of guys are going 6 anymore. I understand that. I just feel like Michael Wacha, it's time for him to go somewhere else and not have to be reunited because we had him once. That's all I'm saying.
And if he's your third, and if say let's say you go get Yamamoto and then you get a Montgomery level guy, so whether that's him, maybe it's Eduardo Rodriguez, I don't know. But if you get a clear top 2. And then you bring in Michael Wacha, I'm not going to be angry about it.
However,
I just think,
like you said to me last time when I floated something like that, they're not going to spend $70 million a year.
It wouldn't be that because he's going to make 15. I'm just saying, like, if that were to be in their price range eventually, and they were able to make all of that work financially,
then you'd be fine with it. Okay.
But my view of this is similar to like if Giolito would be your third, because I think Giolito would almost have to be your second acquisition, second best, because I think they're going to make too much for that to be your third best pitcher you get. I just do.
You don't see a world where it could be Yamamoto, Gray, and Giolito.
No, the world I could see is it being Yamamoto, Giolito, and Alek Manoah. That's what I could see.
Okay. Well, you already know where I stand on that. I'm all in.
Like Alek Manoah is getting traded, and the Cardinals. There's no reason for him not to be one of the half pitcher the Cardinals go after, because I think he's a perfect candidate for that.
I agree.
They can come in it's funny to me against Zach Thompson.
Reading Twitter, because I love to read Twitter just and laugh now. That's how I've taken it. I used to take it way too seriously. No way. Cannot take it seriously anymore. For some of it I love. Obviously, the people that I really value their opinions, I love it. But it is funny to me the freak out factor of Aaron Nola leaving, as if there's now no one left and we're going to be stuck with Seth Lugo. That's what everybody seems to feel. That one makes me laugh. By the way, wouldn't be mad if Seth Lugo was another guy that you took a flyer on. But I'm not saying that as your top 2. I'm just saying I wouldn't be mad about that. Seth Lugo gives people valuable innings every year. I'm just saying I don't see that. I don't see that happening. Correct. Yes. So and has a history out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I get it. I get the immediate thing because my first tweet was, oh no, oh no, oh no. That's all I said. But the reason I said that is because your options to get top tier pitching are so limited. Correct. So like legitimately like number one caliber pitchers. I love Monty. I really, really like Sonny Gray. I don't think they're that level. I know Sonny Gray was great this year. I still don't think he's a number one, and I don't think he's gonna. At least I don't think he projects as that going forward. So your options are now sign Yamamoto or trade for Dylan Cease. If you want the number one, like if you want the A+ offseason, right? Where you got the number one, you got the number two, and you got the 5, right? That's an A+ offseason. You get all those things. I don't think they're the options. If Yamamoto's gone, your options to get a number one are like gone.
Okay,
Like
so
you're
let
just
me
getting
ask
number
you this
twos.
then. Saying that, would you rather the game that I absolutely hate to play because I can never make a decision? You know that, like someone else has to make a decision for me. However, would you rather if the Cardinals, let's say that Yamamoto ends up in New York or Boston or LA or what? I don't think it's gonna be New York, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. But if he does, right, and he's not here, would you rather the Cardinals sign Gray, Monty, and a third guy, like whoever that is, like a third flyer? Would you be
Right.
happier with that? Or would you want them to sign Gray and then give up one of their lineup bats? We're talking Donovan or Gorman probably for Dylan Cease, and then a third swing guy. I think that's, I mean, so that's to me, just looking at it from the 336,000 feet up, not 300, 36,000 feet up, I'd rather go sign Gray and Monty and get a third swing guy than give up a Gorman or a Donovan for a Dylan Cease and then a Gray. Like that's so. Which would you rather do?
I'm always on favor of the billionaire spending money and not trading my favorite players.
Yes,
Um, but here's what I do think. I wonder if we're overvaluing what Dylan Cease is going to command in the trade market.
we
And
could
here's why I
be.
say that. He has 2 years left, which is a lot. Like that, you have to pay a lot for 2 years of Dylan Cease at a reasonable price. He's gonna be like 8 million next year. But the Dodgers are in on Dylan Cease right now. That's the new report that they're trying to trade for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trading James Outman for him.
No, they're not.
James Outman is the equivalent of a Nolan Gorman.
They're not
Except for
trading
those guys are
Gavin Lux for
better.
him either.
Nolan Gorman's better than James Outman. Like
Right? They're
I
not
think
trading
Jen
Gavin
Donovan's
Lux
better
either.
than him. So when they do that, now that being said, the thing that Dodgers had the Cardinals don't have is a lot of really, really talented young pitchers at the AAA
Mm-hmm.
level that can be in honestly be in the White Sox rotation on day one. Cardinals don't have that necessarily, but I almost wonder if a package around to JC or Scott or both could get it done. You know, like I think there are ways to get talented pitching that doesn't result in Donovan, Nootbaar, Gorman being gone. Because I think a lot of people kind of pigeonhole themselves into thinking those are what it's going to cost. And there are some teams that would prefer to get minor leaguers. We saw that with the Nationals when they traded Juan Soto. They were rebuilding. They didn't want major league guys that had service time. They wanted, they wanted the young guys that, like James Woods and Robert Hassel. That's who they wanted. So it's interesting. I don't know, but I would rather not trade any of those guys because we have a billionaire that has a $60 million budget or even
Yes.
more if he wants to push it a little bit to spend it.
I agree. I mean, you and I have been saying this forever. You know, this is the longest we've gone on a podcast for a long time without talking about Tyler Glass now. That guy is still out there. Like that is still an option. And we haven't been addressing that. We've maybe it's because we've addressed it probably ad nauseum. However, like I still think that's another like I just think that I kind of just want to tell fans to calm down a little bit. Nola going back to Philly was not the worst thing of all time.
Also, we all knew it was a likely scenario.
Do you know what I think would have been worse is if Nola went to the Cubs or if Nola went to the Braves and said no, then we know we didn't outbid another team. Does that make sense? Like I think that would have been worse for Cardinal fans. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I also think just let it play out. Like we have no idea what's
that's
gonna
all
happen.
we can do.
Like they go
We
get
can't judge it
Yamamoto
until
in two.
it's over. You
Right,
can't
they
do
go get
you can't judge it.
Yamamoto in two. They get Yamamoto in 2 days. Are you gonna
Right.
still be bitching about Aaron Nola?
Yeah.
Like, let it play out. We'll see what happens. I don't know if they're gonna make a move until December. So calm down. Like it's like we forget every year for some reason that the off season is monotonous. Purposefully monotonous.
I know.
Because
It's so much fun.
Bud Selig wanted it to be this way because he wanted people to talk about baseball all year long. That's why it's like this. So calm down. We got Nolan Arenado in February in 2021. It's not everything's gonna happen right now. There's a lot of stuff left to happen. There's a lot of pitchers out there.
Yamamoto in February.
No. I'm saying there's trades and stuff that could happen later on. And
I know.
also, like,
I know.
if you're the Cardinals, there's no benefit right now to just jumping on Sonny Gray because fans want you to sign someone and overpaying it like crazy.
That is, you just hit it on the head, by the way, before we get out of here, because I know we need to get going because we are heading to a po' boy festival. Yes, those do exist down here because there's a festival for everything down here. However, I think that's the thing. I hope that the Cardinals don't react to the fan outcry. I don't believe that they will. But we have seen that in the past where organizations have. That is my one hope, where they don't Like, there's no need to panic if you're Mo and the boys. There just isn't. And I don't think they are. Like, you
No, I
listened to
don't
Mo
so
earlier,
either.
and from listening to what I heard, like, it just sounds like they honestly, this is much ado about nothing for the Cardinals, because I think they knew Nola was going back to Philly all along.
Yeah, I think they have. Here's the thing about the Cardinals, and here's one of the things I really like about their front office. Like they do a lot of things very well. One of the things they do very well is they keep their cards close to their chest always.
Mm-hmm.
You like the fact that Aaron Nola. I think the media was saying we were in on Aaron Nola. Maybe we weren't. Like it sounds like we weren't really
Right.
in on Aaron Nola all that much. Like I think they target their guys, and they don't like when that gets out. They don't like
Also,
that because it just creates a stir for nothing.
is it keeping your cards close to the chest or close to your vest? Have I
I don't
been
have a
saying it?
vest.
Huh?
It's vest
Why did you say chest?
because I'm not wearing a vest. I don't know.
I thought I'd been saying it wrong for
But why was it
years.
be vest? Chest makes more
Best, by
sense.
the way, shout out to my guy D Pagel. I haven't talked to him. Greatest misquote lyric of all time, or word or phrase. D and I are playing Madden in our old basement, and he's tackling me on my quarterback, and he's yelling, "He's in the grass. He's in the grass." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "He's in the grass." I said, "Do you mean in the grass?" He's like, "No, in the grass. Like he's on the grass. Like he's down." My favorite of all time. My favorite of all time. There is another one that D had. This is probably my favorite human of all time. But he also thought that Smooth Criminal was Eddie, are you okay? Instead of Annie, are you okay? Because he thought it
Are
was
you
about Eddie
okay,
Murphy.
Eddie?
I absolutely love that man. Shout out, brother. I hope things are well. Those are my two of my favorite stories of all time. I have 4,000 of those, so bring them. If you need to bring them, let's go. But I really did think I was staying close to the vest wrong my entire life
It
once you
should
said
be
that.
chest. Hold it on your
It
chest.
does.
Like
It does. Like I've never probably worn a vest in my life, so except my
no,
wedding. I don't think that counts.
no, it doesn't. All right, you ready to
Okay.
get out of here? I don't have anything
Yeah, let's go.
else.
I'm ready to go get one of those po' boys.
Also, I did want to say if something happens, because normally guys like Nola signing, it can start a stir and things can start happening
Hmm.
quickly. We're going to try if we're not in the movie theater or doing whatever when breaking news happens to get the podcast out as quickly as we can. So we
Correct.
will try.
And let me say, anything else you need to say before I get us out of here?
No,
Last thing I would like to say to everybody, once again, thank you so much for either listening or viewing or both. We greatly appreciate you. We hope all of you have an amazing and safe Thanksgiving. One of our favorite days in our family. If you do not live in America, thank you again for tuning in. We know that we have I love looking at the numbers, a decent interaction. I hope you have a great Thursday. Like, I hope you have a great Thursday. We will be eating a lot of turkey. We're going out to the racetrack. We're going to have a great Thursday. But I hope everybody has an awesome, safe Thanksgiving. Thank you all again. Have an amazing day. We'll talk to you soon. Go Cards.